We started with understanding the microcontroller part of it. So as we discussed in the previous class, an Arduino is an open source hardware plus software. Together we use for rapid product development. If you are a hobbyist, you substitute this with project. Okay, so an Arduino is a combination of hardware and software. This is the hardware component, and this is the software. Combination of the two, we develop rapid products. This is the example I gave you. The equivalent of Arduino is Aladdin's magic lamp. This you always remember. Having a lamp with you, a magic lamp with you, is always powerful. You can always do whatever you want. If I give you a magic lamp with you, you can enjoy that using that magic lamp. So you can use that magic lamp for doing whatever you want. So that is something that you should understand. So if you buy this Arduino board, which means that you are having a magic lamp with you. This is as powerful as that. I'm not. I mean what I say here. Okay, I'm not undermining. This is not a funny comparison. In fact, this board, whatever I am showing here on the left hand side, which is the Arduino board, is as powerful as a magic lamp. And I mean by saying that statement, it is that powerful. Okay, here is the genie. The genie, which is inside this magic lamp, is equivalent to the microcontroller of the board. So here is the microcontroller. So the microcontroller of the Arduino board is equivalent to the genie of the lamp. So he is the one who is doing the job for us. Okay, so the genie is so powerful that it can almost do whatever you want, whatever you like. The only problem with this genie is it can understand only zeros and ones or true or false. He speaks only binary language. He speaks either true or false. He speaks yes or no. He speaks zeros and ones. So this is the only way in which he communicates. So that is a big problem for me. So I am the master. So if I want to command this slave, either I have to speak his language, which I am not very convenient with, or this fellow should understand my language. That is not possible. So there is a big problem here. The advantage here is you have a very powerful genie with you, which can do hell a lot of job for you. The disadvantage is this fellow can understand only binary language, which I am not very convenient with. Okay, so we need to convert our language into a language that this genie can understand, which is zeros and ones. That is called compiler. Meaning, I write my code in C program void main. This is called a high level language, HLL. This high level language is programmer friendly, user friendly, but not a machine friendly language. Okay, so we need to have a compiler. When I say high level language, it includes C, C++, Java, Python, or any programming language for that matter. Okay, these programming languages are programmer friendly or user friendly, but they are not machine friendly. Machines understand only zeros and ones. So we give this one as an input to this compiler. So what is the input to the compiler? The input to the compiler is the high level language that we program. And the output of the compiler is the binary file which the Genie can understand. So this is the pros and cons of this Genie. Advantages, this is so powerful. Disadvantages, this can understand only binary language. There is also another disadvantage in using this Genie. You cannot give blunt instructions. You have to give instructions very clearly. Okay? Blunt instructions mean you cannot give instructions which are very vague, which is not having any clarity. Okay? You have to be on the spot when it comes to uh, giving instructions. You have to split the entire instructions into 4 or 5 pieces of commands, and you have to give that instructions in a very clear format. Otherwise, this Genie cannot understand. So the advantage is he is so powerful that he is capable of doing anything as I want. The disadvantage is the communication part. This fellow is a dummy fellow, so I have to give instructions for that fellow to do something. That is the first problem. Second problem is the way in which I communicate is also a problem because he understands only binary language. I speak a different language, so I need to have an intermediary fellow who need to translate whatever I speak to the Genie. So that is one problem here. All of you are with me so far? Okay. Now, next question comes how to activate the Genie. How am I going to activate? Normally, this Genie will hide inside this lamp. Okay. For this Genie to come out, I have to rub this lamp and say some magic words so that this fellow comes out of the lamp. So we need to do some action for the Genie to come out. Similarly, for this Genie to come out and do something, we need to activate it. Just like rubbing this lamp, we need to connect this Genie to uh, the computer by using a USB cable, or you can also power this by using a power adapter. Either ways, you can power this board. Once you power this board, this Genie will come out. That is how we activate. Okay. So for the Genie to come out, you need to rub the Aladdin's lamp and say a magic word. For activating our Genie in the microcontroller, which is present in the Arduino board, we need to power it. There are two ways of powering it. One way of powering it is you either connect it by an USB cable to a laptop or a PC, or you use a power adapter and supply the necessary DC voltage for the board. So that is the second way of activating. The third important concept that we discussed in the previous class is what are the features of this Genie? Because this is the fellow who is I am going to take control over. This entire course is about how to control this fellow, not controlling this fellow, get the job done. So how to get the job done? This fellow can do a lot of jobs for me. So I am using this fellow, this slave, for getting my job done. For getting my job done, first of all, I should understand the capability of this fellow. So what I have represented on the left gives the capability of this fellow. Okay. What if I need to do a certain job for which this capability of this Genie is not sufficient? Okay. Then obviously you need to go for a bigger Genie. Whether such a Genie is available, meaning whether you have more powerful Arduino boards available, the answer is yes. Then next question comes, in any way, is there a difference in operation between this board and that board when it comes to programming or the way we use the board? Nothing. The way in which you control the board, the way in which you give instructions, the way in which you program is universally common for all the boards. The only difference is this genie is little powerful, that genie is more powerful. Okay? Then why are you not teaching me the more powerful genie first? Well, the answer is if you know how to control a small genie, you know how to control a bigger genie. Conceptually, both of them are same. So that is why we teach a small genie for you. Whenever you go for car driving, you would learn your car driving using an ambassador car or a Maruti car, more likely. Is there any driving school who would teach you driving school using Audi car? Obviously, it doesn't make any sense. Once you know how to ride a ambassador car or a small Maruti car, you can use that concept to drive any car. So that is how it is. So once you learn how to do programming for Arduino Uno, how to control Arduino Uno, you can probably use that concept for extending your uh, capability of controlling any other powerful microcontroller boards, Arduino boards, I mean. So these are the features that we discussed. There are totally 28 pins. Many of you are giving the answer as 14 pins. 14 refers to the number of IO pins, digital IO pins that we are using in the Arduino. Okay. The total number of pins available in the microcontroller are 28. These three refers the three different types of memory of this fellow. This fellow is having in his head, there is some memory. This fellow is having three different types of memory. One type of memory is called ROM. What is ROM? What do you mean by ROM? I put something in the head of this fellow. This fellow will remember that throughout his lifetime. No matter whether he is sleeping inside this lamp, whether he is coming out of the lamp, that information I put inside the ROM memory, he always remembers that permanently. That memory is called ROM memory. RAM memory means he remembers whatever the information I tell that fellow as long as he is out of this lamp, whenever he is activated, whenever the power is there for the microcontroller. The moment I put off the power, meaning when the genie goes into this lamp once, and then when he comes out of the lamp next time, whatever I told in the previous occasion, this genie has forgot everything. Such a memory is called RAM memory. Then why I want RAM memory? I want RAM memory to tell the genie of what exactly he has to remember according to this context. So he has come out of the lamp for doing something, and whatever is needed for accomplishing that something, I tell that fellow. The moment he completes that job and goes into this lamp, whatever I told that fellow is lost, and he never remembers that. But whereas whatever I told that fellow inside ROM memory, he remembers that permanently and he recollects that even when he comes out of the lamp next time. Whereas whatever I put in the RAM memory of this fellow, he remembers it as long as he is alive, as long as he is out of the lamp. The moment he goes inside the lamp, he forgets. Meaning, whatever you put inside RAM of a microcontroller, the RAM retain the contents of whatever you put inside as long as there is power, as long as it is activated. The moment it is deactivated or the moment it loses the power once, next time when you reboot it, all the contents of RAM will evaporate. Nothing will be there. Understood the difference between RAM and ROM? And there is also another memory called EEPROM that takes the advantage of ROM and RAM. So this fellow has three different types of ROM. 28 is the total number of pins. IO pins means what? IO pins means the microcontroller can connect to a physical device. IO stands for input or output. So out of the 23 IO available in the microcontroller, the Arduino uses only 20 of them. What 20? 14 pins on the right hand side and 6 pins on the left hand side. So 16 plus 4, totally 20 pins are effectively used. But how many are actually present in the IC, in the microcontroller? 23. 23 is available, out of which only 20 are used in the board. So what will happen to the remaining 3? Remaining 3 is used for some other purpose. Let us not bother about it. Out of the 23 input or output pins, input or output means that is the pin where the microcontroller can accept or deliver information. It can read or write information. So when it comes to uh, the the Genie, this is the input device for this fellow. Why is this an input device? Because whatever I speak, this fellow reads that information via his ears. What is the output device for this fellow? This is the output device. Interestingly, interestingly, the Genie has two different input and output devices. Ears are used as inputs, and your mouth is acting as an output device. Interestingly, in your microcontroller, a same pin can act as input or output. Say, for example, if I have a pin, the same pin can write data or deliver data. The same pin can also read data. So it is bidirectional in nature, meaning uh, imagine your mouth can be used for speaking as well as hearing. Imagine your ears can be used for hearing, as your ears can be used for hearing as well as speaking. It's a funny situation, is it? You speak with your ears. I wonder what will happen with these ladies present days. No, it is unbearable if they are speaking with only their mouth. So if God gives the option for speaking both with their ears, what will happen? So it is something similar to that. Okay, so don't imagine too much. Speaking uh, bidirectional means input or output means a similar pin performing both the input as well as output operation. So timers means what? Timer is a wristwatch. So this fellow is having two watches, one watch in the left hand side and one watch on the right hand side. So what is the use of this watch? I will tell the Genie to do some operation. Wake me up exactly tomorrow morning 9 a.m. So this fellow will wake me up at 9 a.m. in the morning. So how that fellow knows that 9 a.m. is there? Because he need a watch. So this fellow has two timers. That two timers that this fellow will use for performing time-based applications. So one timer is on the left-hand side, one timer on the right-hand side. This is what I mean by analog to digital converter. Analog to digital converter means the data that the microcontroller can understand is always available in digital form. Okay, we need to whenever you are supplying that in analog form, we need to convert that into digital, and then only we have to supply it. Otherwise, this fellow cannot understand. So we can understand only digital data, not analog data. So that is what it is. So there are 6 pulse width modulations. I am here to teach you what is pulse width modulation. Don't worry about it. As of now, you understand that there are 6 channels. There is one real-time clock. Real-time clock means something similar to your watch, where you can know the real time, what the exact time, 2 hour 48. And there are 3 serial communication channels: inter-integrated circuit, SPI, and UART. All the 3 are used for uh, transmitting and receiving data. And finally, the speed. The speed at which it uses is 20 megahertz. Okay, that is the maximum speed. Next one is the IO pins. So this fellow has totally 28 pins. So this is my notch. So when I told you there is an IC, there will be a semicircular arc. After that, you will have a small dot. Okay, so where is that knob here? So this is my IC. This is the semicircular arc. Semicircular arc. To the left of the semicircular arc is the dot. So where is the dot here? Here is the dot. So the pin that is next to the dot is pin number 1. So this is pin 1, pin 2, pin 3, pin 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And then it takes a U-turn. This is 15, 16, 17, 18, etc., etc. It ends at 28. That is upside down here. Okay, so irrespective of whether it is upside down or straight, you always keep this rule in mind. There is a semicircular arc. To the left of the semicircular arc, there is a dot. The pin that is near the dot is pin number 1. That is the pin identification. So once you identify pin 1, rest of the pins follows that. So 2, 3, 4, etc. up to 14, 15, etc. up to 28. So the rest of the pins you can identify. So that is the first thing. So you have to understand these important terms here. Total pins available in this microcontroller is equal to 28. 14 pins on the left hand side and another 14 pins on the right hand side. Totally 14 plus 14, 28 pins. Out of these 28 pins, how many pins can be used for connecting external devices, which means getting data or supplying data? How many of them? Which means how many IO pins are available? 23 of them. Totally 23 pins. So out of this 28, 23 pins are available for input and output, both dual job. Okay. Out of this 23, how many are used by Arduino? Out of this 23, how many are used by Arduino? Only 20. Understand the difference between microcontroller and Arduino. Microcontroller and Arduino are two different terms. Okay. What is Arduino? Arduino is this complete board. This complete board is Arduino. This is Arduino board. What is microcontroller? This is the microcontroller. You have to have that clear understanding. Arduino is the magic lamp. Microcontroller is the genie present inside that lamp. Both are different. Now, these 28 pins I am talking about is for the microcontroller, not for Arduino. So this pin, this microcontroller that is sitting inside this board has 28 pins. Similarly, out of the 28 pins, this microcontroller offers how many pins for I/O? 23 pins are offered by this microcontroller. Out of the 23 pins offered by the microcontroller, how many are used by this board, Arduino board, for input and output? Only 20. So this board uses only 20 of the available 23 offered by the microcontroller. What I mean by saying Arduino offers only 20 pins, though this particular microcontroller offers 23 pins for I/O, Only 20 pins are available for you to use by this board, which means 14 digital and 6 analog. So 14 plus 6, totally 20. Offer is offered by Arduino. You should have very clear understanding of what is offered by the microcontroller, what is offered by the Arduino board. Microcontroller offers 23 IO lines, meaning this IC offers 23 lines. Arduino offers only 20 lines, meaning this board takes only 20 lines of the available 23 and it offers you only 20. Out of the 20, 14 are digital and 6 are analog. Whether this distinction is clear for you all? Whether you are able to understand this distinction clearly? If you have any doubt, please let me know so that I'll address that. Microcontroller offers 23, whereas the board offers only 20. So what the board does with the rest of the 3 lines, rest of the 3 lines are used for a different purpose. Let us not discuss that now. Okay. So Arduino uses only 20. Microcontroller Atmega 328 offers 23. So that difference you have to understand. So I told you there are 6 analog on the left hand side. Where is analog? Analog is available on the left hand side. So this is what I mean by analog. On the right hand side, you have digital, 14 digital. So what do you mean by analog and what do you mean by digital? Okay, for analog and digital, if you, for a layman, this is the difference between analog and digital. So if you take your bike, if the speedometer has a needle and it rotates depending upon the speed that I ride the bike, then it is an analog meter. On the other hand, if the displaying the in the speedometer is showing numerical digits, then it is digital meter. So that is the difference between analog and digital for a layman, for a non-technical person. So what is the difference between analog and digital for you as an engineer? So how do you define the difference between analog and digital? This is how you should understand the difference between analog and digital. For digital, if you plot a graph between voltage on the y-axis and time on the x-axis, the graph will always take 2 possible states. Either the voltage value will have a high value, let us say plus 5 volt, or the voltage can have 0 volts. There is nothing in between. So either it takes a high value or it takes a low value. It can take any number of low values continuously, similarly any number of high values continuously, but the value of the y-axis can toggle between plus 5 volts or 0 volts and nothing in between. If such a logic system or such a voltage system is present, then such a system we call it as a digital system. In digital system, the value of the voltage can be either 5 volt or 0 volt. I go and ask money to my father. Okay. Dad, I need money. Give me 100 rupees. If the dad says yes or no, then he is a digital dad. Because he either gives you 100 rupees or he doesn't give you money at all. If he gives you 100 rupees, then that is a logical one. If he doesn't give you any money at all, then it is a logical 0. There is an yes and there is a no, and there is nothing in between. Such a dad is a digital dad. Who is an analog dad then? Again, if you are going to draw a graph between voltage on the y-axis and time on the x-axis, the y-axis in this case, unlike a digital y-axis, can take infinite possible combinations. Infinite possible combinations means what? The voltage can take any possible value between 0 and infinity on the y-axis. It need not have to have only two discrete values of zeros and ones or zeros at 5 volts or whatever it is. If the y-axis takes only two possible states, then it is digital. 0 or a 1. 0 means 0 volts, 1 means any constant value. That depends upon the logical system that you use. If you are using TTL logic, it is 5 volts. If you are using CMOS logic, the voltage varies. So it depends upon the logical system but you use, but it is either a 1 or a 0. Either a 0 volt or some constant value. There is nothing in between. Such a system is called digital. Analog means the y-axis value takes infinite possible combinations. It can have any possible value on the y-axis, continuously changing depending upon the time. So that is the difference between analog and digital. So this understanding you have to very clearly keep in mind. Which means, coming with that discussion in mind, on the right hand side you have totally 14 pins. Pin 0 to pin 13. Totally you have 14 pins. All these 14 pins are digital pins. Meaning they can either accept a 0 or they can accept 1. 0 here means 0 volt. 1 here means plus 5 volt. If the pin is acting as an input pin, because all 14 pins are bidirectional in nature. What do you mean by bidirectional in nature? They can supply an output. They can also accept an input. That is why we call IO pins here. Okay. No matter whether it is acting as an input or output, it is always going to take a 0 or a 1. So if that is going to be the case, that is a digital pin. So pin number 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. up to 13. So these 14 pins are digital pins, meaning they can either supply a 0 volt or 5 volt if they are acting as output. If they are acting as input, they will accept 0 volt or 5 volt. There is nothing in between these two voltages. That is why we call them as digital pins. So there are totally 14 pins and all of them are digital in nature. This is on the right hand side. On the left hand side, you have 6 analog pins. What is the name of these analog pins? A0, analog 0, analog 1, analog 2, analog 3, analog 4, and analog 5. These 6 analog pins on the left hand side are analog pins. Analog pin mean what? If you are going to draw a graph between 0 on the y-axis, since this microcontroller's maximum operating voltage is 5 volt, again the voltage on this particular y-axis cannot exceed beyond 5, but the value of 0 to 5 can have infinite possible combinations. It can take any value between 0 to 5. Whereas on the right hand side, the value that the pin can have can toggle between 5 volt or 0 volt. There is nothing in between. That is the difference. So on the left hand side, these 6 pins can take any value between 0 to 5, infinite possible combinations. On the right hand side, between 0 and 5, these pins can take only either 0 or 1, or 0 or 5 volt, nothing in between. So that is the difference between these two pins. So where do we use the left hand side pins? Where do I use right hand side pins? Left hand side pins I use whenever I am connecting sensors, transducers, etc. Say for example, I am using a temperature sensor. If I use a temperature sensor, if I connect the temperature sensor to power supply, I take another pin for grounding. The output pin of the temperature sensor would give you an output analog voltage proportional to the temperature. So this is an analog output voltage. So I can inject an analog sensor directly to the port pin. So all the sensors, transducers, which give you an analog output, we connect them to the analog pins. Digital pins we use for interfacing digital peripheral devices. Say for example, light emitting diodes, LEDs. So this is a digital output device. Digital input device, you can take a switch. The switch can supply data. So switches, LEDs, LCDs, all these peripheral devices which take either a 0 or a 1 for input and output, we classify them as digital peripheral devices. So we use all the 14 IO pins on the right hand side for such peripheral devices. Okay. So this is what you have to understand. So powering, I have already told you, there are two ways in which you can power. One way of powering this by using USB. The other way of powering this is by using adapter. When you are using adapter, make sure that you are not using a DC adapter of plus 12 volt. Okay. So once you power this board, it is a matter of programming this microcontroller in order to give instructions. Programming means commanding your genie. So how do I command my genie? I have a powerful genie with me. How do I command it? I should know programming. Okay. Programming is different from programming language. Programming, the word programming means the methodology that you adopt to give instructions to a machine. That is programming. Programming language is a tool. Okay. The tool may differ, but the art of programming remains constant. I want all of you to learn the art of programming, because if you are going to be an engineer, you cannot shy away from the fact that I don't know programming. Okay, that is not a smart way of telling this. If you want to be successful in future, irrespective of whether you are a computer science engineer or electrical engineer or electronics engineer or an instrumentation engineer, you need to know programming. Programming is a general art that everybody should know. Okay? Just like cooking. You cannot tell that I don't know cooking. If you tell that I don't know cooking, I would say you are a fool. Irrespective of whether you're a boy or a girl, telling that I don't know how to cook is some kind of a fashionable word, because it is a life-saving art which you are expected to learn at this very early age. That is a survival art, because once you get a job, sometimes you may go elsewhere, you may have to go outside, and you are not assured of your favorite food there. Most likely that you will end up in eating food that you don't like. For example, when I went to Ahmedabad in Gujarat, they used to add sugar and jaggery in the sambar. I went crazy in the very first week. When every hotel in Ahmedabad in Gujarat, they put sugar or add some sort of sweet in the sambar we eat. Can you simply imagine eating sambar rice with sugar in that? I really went crazy, and then I stopped eating outside, and then I procured all the items and started cooking. And thanks to my mom and my father, who taught me how to cook, and I am passionate about cooking, and I am a full-fledged master chef now. But I insist all of you learn this part. Okay, so it is a life-saving skill. So just like that, programming is an art that all the engineers should possess, irrespective of no matter whether you are a, you know, you cannot say that I'm an electronics and instrumentation guy. Why should I learn programming? Don't tell such stories. So we discussed this IC, we discussed this digital pins, we discussed this analog pins. We know what this is. This is a USB connector. We know this also. So what are the remaining parts that we haven't discussed? This is called a reset switch. Why we need a reset switch? Reset switch is used to reboot this board. So once I press this small button here, this board will restart. We use this resetting whenever the board getting stuck somewhere because of an unexpected operation. I want to restart the board, so on and so forth. What are the other parts that I should know? This is a crystal. What is a crystal? A crystal is made of glass. This quartz, in fact, is a piece of glass. It is fragile in nature, meaning it can break easily. That is why it is contained inside a very safe enclosure. The job of this crystal is to provide clock pulses for this microcontroller. So this crystal is something similar to the heartbeat of this microcontroller. Or something similar to the heart. Once the heart pumps, we are alive as long as the heart pumps. So just like that, the microcontroller will perform only when this crystal performs. Once the crystal stops the operation, the microcontroller cannot function. Even though you apply power. Power is only for the life of the microcontroller. The, the actual circulatory system for your microcontroller is this crystal. This crystal is the one which supplies the clock pulses for the operation. Okay. What is the part that I should know here? That is called a regulator. The job of the regulator is to take an input voltage from 7 volt to 15 volt on the input side, and it gives you a constant 5 volt at the output. The job of the regulator is to give you 5 volt irrespective of the fluctuations at the input side. The job of the father is to pay you the college or the tuition fees. The college fees is 20,000 rupees. The job of the father is to provide that 20,000 rupees at a constant value as demanded by the institute, irrespective of the fluctuations that may happen from his input side. Sometimes he may have a lower income, sometimes he may have some higher income, sometimes there may not be any income. But irrespective of these fluctuations at the input side, your father always regulates and he gives the amount that you need for your education. So he is a regulator. The regulator is an electronic device which provides a constant output voltage no matter what is the input fluctuation. Such a voltage regulator is very much essential to maintain a constant DC uh, because that output forms the input voltage for all the ICs inside. So that is what. So the final parts that I have to discuss you are the power supply pins here. So we have ground pins here. The ground pins are pins where they are having zero voltages. And we have two power supply pins. One power supply pin can supply 3.3 volt here. Another power supply pin can supply 5 volt. And you also have another ground pin here. So these pins are used for external connection. What I mean by external connection, let us say I am using a temperature sensor. A temperature sensor, let us say a sample temperature sensor, LM35. LM35 is a temperature sensor which has three terminals: input terminal, ground terminal, and the output terminal. The input terminal takes 5 volts, requires 5 volts. So what do I do? I take one long wire and I connect this 5-volt pin to the 5-volt line of the board. Then what I do? So this is my plus 5-volt. Then what I do? This is ground wire, 0-volt. I take another long wire and connect this fellow to this, because this is ground. Then this is the output wire finally. So this is an analog output. So I take any of the analog pins and connect the output of this, so that the analog data is supplied to this pin. So this is how I connect a sensor to this particular board. So why these power lines and ground lines are used? They are used for external connection. I can connect an external sensor or a peripheral device or some kind of a small peripheral IO device, something of that sort. Okay. So these are all the things that I wanted to discuss with you. Once you completely understand the hardware parts of it, uh, from the next class onwards, we spend time on uh, taking control over this board. Taking control over this board means what? I know that there is a genie inside. I know what is the power of the genie. Now it's time for me to make the genie to work. How do I make the genie to work? I need to give instructions for that fellow. How do I give instructions for that fellow? I need to write a program. What should I do for programming? I need to learn the art of programming. So next class, I am going to teach you the art of programming. That is no way concerned with any programming language. It is a general art. Okay. So once you know the art of programming, you can take control over any programming language. So in the next class, I will teach you the art of programming, and then in the subsequent classes, we will do some small coding to make the genie to work, do simple works. And later on, we extend the complexity of the work and make the genie to do complex jobs. And you would love enjoy that fellow doing and working for you. So this is where I stop today.